There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started again. This is for the verification summary report. I did send out the slides yesterday afternoon. I did, however, make just a couple of tweaks. I added 2 slides and I moved 2 slides up. So the last slide's the slide that one of the first slides, and one of the last slides is the one that I added today. I did go ahead and update that. It's in other documents in CARS under training information or training slides and handouts. I can also email it back out to you because I think you may want to know the steps. That's what the last one is like, when can you do your verification report, when it will open up. So I was on the phone with someone today. We were talking about it, and I was like, that we probably need to add a slide of when you're able to do your verification summary report. Now, every single school district does have to do the verification report, but that doesn't mean that everybody had to do verification. And that's a little bit what we're going to talk about, but every school does have to do the verification report. So I do have with us today Dana, Nikki, and Becky in here. They're going to answer questions. So if you guys are in the chat, put anything in the chat if you have questions, and Dana and Nikki and Becky will answer those questions for you. And they're more than welcome to pipe on in if I say something or if I need to say something that I didn't say. So again, you should have already been doing the verification. Verification was supposed to start on October 1st or around that date. You have to completely finish verification by the 15th. And we're talking, if people did not respond to you, then what you should have done is sent them a letter on the 10th of, or on the 5th or on the 5th of November, and then give them 10 days. But you should be completely done with verification by now. So if you did not do verification, it is required. So you are required to do verification. If you have not started it yet, then you need to do it now. It has to be done. If you do it now, any school that collects free and reduced applications or is in a provision 2 or 3 base year, which is we have nobody in a base year this year because we couldn't do any provision last year or this year. But we're not talking about the economically disadvantaged form, but we're talking the child nutrition free and reduced application. That's what you were supposed to try to collect. That's what the verification information is on. It is on the free and reduced application. We heard that there were a lot of people that did the economically disadvantaged and did not send out our form. That's different with CEPs. But if you normally take free and reduced applications, that's what you had to send out to, or that's what you had to send out this year to do verification. So again, if you haven't done verification, you need to start that, and you have a 45-day process from beginning to end. And the verification report must be completed before you can submit your December claim. So verification is not required. The process is not required. The summary report is required by everybody, but verification, the process, is not required on these situations right here. If you're an RCCI, if you do not have any day students, if you're CEP, if you're an RCCI, which all students have been certified under direct cert. These are just some things that you do not have to do the verification process. But again, every single entity on the school lunch program does have to do the report. Other verification is not required is if schools only do special milk, and I don't think we have any in the state of Oklahoma that only do special milk. If you're in a non-base year, schools in which all children are served with no separate charge, schools with that do not have any free or reduced eligible students. So again, these are the people that do not have to actually do verification, the process, but you still have to do this report. And we're going to go through this report of what you put where. So the verification report is found in CARS under the checklist, and you can see it here on the screen. It's underneath where you see low income report. I think it's the very last report we have on there. Is that still the case, or is equipment grant the last one? But it's right there towards the end. You'll see verification summary report. And at the end, I'll tell you when that becomes available to you. It cannot become available to you till December, but it will show up, and I'll show you when it will show up. But we just wanted to go through the process. If you do not get to listen to all of this today, or if you know someone else who couldn't, we can send the video to you after this as well for those of you that logged on. But if anybody else needs to, it's going to be an OSDE Connect, should be there by tomorrow. Okay, so an overview of verification. So we have the application tabs. We're going to show you some stuff. So application tab, your report, there's 5 separate sections, and all districts that took applications must complete the form in the applicable sections. SFAs with provision 2, 3, CEP must complete the FNS 742 report, again, in all applicable sections. So again, everybody does need to complete this report. So once you open up the report, you're going to see these tabs at the very top. If you can see where those black arrows are, that's where you're going to go. You have to click on each one, and we'll show you what to fill out on each page of this report. And again, the full report that gets printed out, if you want to see the overview of it and the instructions, or start on page E79. Okay, so again, as you can see at the top tabs, there's applications, summary section 1 and 2, summary section 3 and 4, and then summary section 5. In the application tab, you will enter information from the application selected for verification. In the first column where it says ID, you can assign a number like 1, 2, 3, or 4 to the application. If your computer system assigns numbers, you can use those numbers as well. It's fine. Whatever you type in there is what it will use. Then in the drop-down box on number 3, you will select how the application was originally approved for benefits. And you can see the drop-down box right here. So this will be in the very first one with applications. So if you had applications that you verified, this is where you first start, is in applications, and you insert all the applications that you had to select, that you selected for verification. Oh, okay. So we, quick announcement. We just got word. So Rhonda Stevenson here in the office, she just had a grandbaby. Right before we started, we knew it was close. And so grandbaby is just arrived. So that's what everybody's excited. So we have a new baby here in office. So Rhonda is now grandma. Again, grandma number to 2.0, 2 little girls. Okay. That's okay, sorry. In item number 3, the drop-down box is where you select the statement that best represents how the application was originally approved. And you can see it right here. This in number 3, you select how the application was originally approved. And then in number 4, you're going to select from the drop-down box a statement that best represents what the results was of that verification process. So the first one would be how it was originally approved. And then number 4 is what you found during the verification process. Okay, section number 1. So above is an example of what the form will look like when there's numbers in there. So this kind of shows you just a little bit what it looks like. Again, all SFAs with schools or RCCIs operating the school lunch and or the school breakfast program must complete this section regardless if all schools are exempt from verification. So section 1 is for everyone. Report schools or institutions operating in the National School Lunch and the breakfast program and students with access to those programs as of the last operating day in October. So 1-1 columns A and B is the total number of schools, not including RCCIs. It's those that are operating the school lunch and school breakfast, and total number of enrolled students with access to lunch and breakfast. Column 1-2, column A is the total number of RCCIs operating the school lunch and school breakfast program. And again, what I'm reading to you, these are instructions that are in there. And these instructions, again, are listed in the eligibility manual on page 81, 82. 1-2 column B, again, is the total number of students enrolled. 1-2A column A and 1-2A column B is of RCCIs reported in column 1-2 column A. They enter the number of day students, and it's only day students with access to school lunch and or school breakfast in RCCIs. Day students are those students not institutionalized, and eligibility is determined individually by application or direct certification. And then column 1-2B, column A and column B, if RCCIs report in column 1-2 column A, enter the number of RCCIs with no day students, and it's just the total number of institutionalized students. So the sum of the students reported in 1-2A, B will not equal the same as 1-2 column B. So it's kind of, I know it's super confusing. We don't have a whole lot of RCCIs. And again, if you ever have any questions, you're more than welcome to call the office. I told them I don't usually do a whole lot of reading in these trainings, but when it comes to verification report, I do a lot of the reading because it can get confusing. But again, I will tell you the instructions are very, very good. Again, we'll send them out to you, and that way it should help you when you're filling all this out. So now we're going to section 2 of the verification report. So in this slide is an example of what it looks like in section 2. All SFAs with some or all schools and or RCCIs operating under an alternative provision must complete this section. So for RCCIs operating in alternative provision include both day and residential students, report students with access to the school lunch and breakfast as of the last operating day in October. 2-1 through 2-4 should be reported only if school operates alternate provisions for both programs, resulting in no collection of applications. So again, this is going to be for those that are RCCIs operating under alternative provision or those under 1, 2, or 3 or CEP. You must do section 2. And then it goes through 2-1, 2-1 column A and B is base year, is when certification procedures are conducted. 2-2 column A and B non-base year is when no certification procedures are conducted. 2-2A column B and 2-2B column B is multiplied the most recent base year free percentage by the enrollment report in 2-2 column B to determine 2.-2A column B. So I know, again, this gets super frustrating, and we're going to send out that information to you. Nikki, when do we receive the numbers from accreditation for provision schools?
We never know, but last year we got it.
Okay, so just FYI, we will get the information for all of those asking or curious for, especially like low income and stuff. We will not get that information till mid-December from accreditation. So if you're still wondering, we will not get any information until December. Last year was mid-December. It's sometimes it gets a little bit earlier than that we'll get our numbers for accreditation from them. So again, this is those students that you have, the number of students that you have for your base for this. I'm trying to see, does this go by base year or non? Let's see. So column 2-4 is for provision 1. 2-5 columns A and B enter the number of schools and or RCCIs and students enrolled operating in alternative provision for only breakfast or only lunch. And I don't think this year we have any schools that only participate in one and not the other, because the only school that we had that did that are now provision in both. So I don't think anybody will be doing 2-5, because I think 2-5 is only for those that you're only provision either for breakfast or for lunch. You're not for both programs, but I don't think we have that anymore in the state. We used to have one, so I think that's not a thing anymore. So this is for section 3. Section 3, all SFAs again must complete this section. If all schools and or RCCIs in the SFA were not required to perform direct certification with SNAP, then check the box in 3-1. So mostly everybody will be selecting this box. Very, very few will not. So this is if you were not required to perform direct certification, then you click the box on 3-1. 3-2 column B Include students directly certified with SNAP. If a student is directly certified with SNAP, as well as with another program like TANF or FIDPER, or like your enrollment, your homeless list, include the student in this SNAP count. So you're only doing SNAP. You're not doing any other direct certification but SNAP. And when you pull your direct certification, I personally have never seen TANF on there. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it will say SNAP all at the corner. But it happens very rarely that you will see a TANF person on there, but they are not included in this. This is only for SNAP, for directly certified. And then in column 3-3, column B, include students directly certified through programs other than SNAP. So that would be your SNAP, your TANF and FIDPER will go into 3-3, column B. 3-4, column B includes only students certified as categorically free based on a letter submitted by the family from SNAP agency. And I haven't seen that in several years. So I don't know if it happens yet, but I have not seen a letter from SNAP in several years, but you may be getting them. But oh good, we have one that does have a TANF, but I have not seen that in a very long time. So section 4, all SFAs with schools and/or RCCIs collecting individual household applications must report in this section, including schools and/or RCCIs in a provision 2-3 base year. We have nobody that's in a base year this year for provision 2 or 3 because we're not doing the school lunch program. But again, and we're talking again about the child nutrition applications, we're not talking about economically disadvantaged. So when we talk about that, when you did your verification, it was based on child nutrition free and reduced applications. So just to make sure, we usually never have to kind of harp on that, but this year's been just way different than other years. So report the number of applications in column A approved as of October 1. And then report the number of students in column B as of the last operating day as of October. So column A will be your actual number of applications. And column B is students. So again, that can be right. And especially this year, you may have only gotten 50 applications, but your school has 523 students. So that's what you put in this section right here. So again, in 4-1, column A, it's the number of applications approved for free based on the documentation submitted on the application and that you have on file as of October 1. In 4-1, column B is the number of students as of the last operating day in October approved for free based on documentation. 4-2, column A is the number of applications for free based on income information. So the top one is based on SNAP, TANF, and FIDPER information, but it's on the application, not based on direct certification. It's based on those that gave you an application with SNAP, TANF, or FIDPER. And then approved for free as of income based. And then 4-3 is those students that were income of reduced. So it's applications and then the total number of students as of October, the last day of October is in column B. Which one?
It's 4B, actual or highest eligible students.
What
would have been your highest eligibles.
Well, that's going to be the number that was on the application.
So I have what the notes are stating, and we can go back here. I mean, would you mind? Let me look at the instructions real fast from the actual report. I have, let's see here. Let me look at the actual section 4. So on the instructions in the eligibility manual, it says in column B as of the last operating day in October.
It's the highest on 4. on 4B, on 4.1B, 4.2B, and 4.3B.
Yeah.
Yes, they all say the last, as of the last operating day in October. So would you use in the edit check, do you use the highest, or does it mean you're using the last drop and add? The highest, which would also be what you would claim. So if that makes it a little bit easier. But again, I'll send out the instructions. It's basically everything I'm reading to you. Again, it's in your eligibility manual, page 8, 81 and 82 are those instructions. Okay. So T-1, this number is automatically calculated from the numbers entered in 3-2 and 3-3, 3-4. It's automatically populated, and it does come from several of the numbers that you did put in previous sections, in section 3 and in section 4. This number should not equal more than the total enrollment entered in 1-1B. In T-2, this number again is automatically calculated using some stuff from section 4 and from section 2. So we just
On 4.1, do we put the other children in the family who are not listed on the DC list? Not unless they're enrolled.
that's a good question.
Yeah, if they're DC, that, even though they're not on that printed list, so you might bring that.
So they should be on there because you did directly certify them because they were members of the household. So yes, you can put them in the direct certification spot. Very good question. Very good. See where I'm at here. In section 5, so on 5-1 identifies all schools and our RCCIs that are exempt. And we talked about who all is exempt at the beginning of this. That's a slide that I moved. That slide was here of who was exempt, and I just moved it at the top of who is exempt from doing verification. So again, 5-1 identifies all schools exempt from verification. So if that's you, then you can click that there. 5-2 was verification performed and completed on time. I hope that's all of you that had to do verification. And 5-3, the type of verification. And 5-4 is the total number of error-prone applications. And 5-5 is the total number of applications selected for verification. So that's what section 5, that's what we'll discuss. Okay. So if all schools and or RCCIs in the district are exempt from verification activities, you check box 5-1 and no further reporting is required in section 5. So in other words, if you're exempt from verification, that meant you met those requirements that we talked about earlier, then you are finished with the verification report. If on a normal year that you were supposed to take free and reduced price applications, you were to do the verification report. So on 5-2, this is where the SFA indicates whether the verification was performed and completed by the deadline. And please be honest, if you're up for review, we do come out there and we know when this happens. So indicate, yes, did you complete the entire process by November 15th? Or yes, did you complete verification, but you didn't complete it until after the deadline? Or did you just not perform verification at all? Because, and I will be honest with you, I would get really irritated because every year I'd go do a review and someone would not do verification, but they would say that they did. Yes, Dana has something.
If, and I think we need to make it clear, if they did not collect applications, they did not have, they normally would have, they're not on that exempt list.
Yes.
They need to mark this right here.
Yes. So, and that's what we were kind of talking about. So again, if you, like in a normal year, say we were doing normal child nutrition and you would normally collect free and reduced applications, and this year you chose not to collect them, then you have to collect, then you have to put no. verification was not performed or the process was not completed, because you normally would have to do it. And it's basically this year you didn't do verification and you were supposed to. So that's what you would click. So again, if you in a normal year, you would take applications for your free, reduced, and paid kids, and you didn't this year, you didn't take them. And even though if you were normal year, you would have been, and so if you didn't get applications, you couldn't have done verification. You have to mark no, because you were not exempt. You were still required to do. Yeah, you're not in any trouble. Yeah, exactly. Like they said, you're not in any trouble. And we understand. I had a lot of schools say, we're not even going to try collect them because they're not going to send them in. That's fine. But it's just, I think, letting USDA know that, yes, you would normally, in a normal year, you would take applications, but this year you did not do verification because you did not collect any applications. You're not in trouble, but just mark it correctly. Just don't say yes that you did verification when you didn't even get any applications. So just always just be honest with us, because I would actually get more perturbed when I'd rather you put no on here that you didn't do it and I come out and you didn't do it than you say that you did it and I come out and you didn't do it. So that's what would perturb me. Okay, so here is where you're going to check what type of verification process that you did. This is located on page E39 if you're not quite sure. The standard is the one that most people do or have to do. Alternate one, again, is if you had an 80% response rate in the previous year, then you could do, you could select just random. Or alternate two is the one where you do the 1% error prone or the 0.5% of SNAP TANF income applications. But again, most of you will do standard if you're not quite sure. Standard is the one you have to do if you did not qualify to do alternate one or alternate two. Okay. So on section 5-4, you'll enter the total number of error-prone applications approved as of October 1, indicating monthly income was within that $100 of monthly or the $1,200 of the annual limit. So that's what you'll put there in 5-4. And then in the summary report 5-5, you'll enter the total number of applications initially selected for verification process as indicated in 5-3 in the box provided next to 5-5. So how many applications did you select for verification will go here in 5-5. Okay, so this one I'm going to harp on just a little bit. So this box right here in 5-6 is if you did direct verification. Direct verification is not direct certification. Direct verification is when you had an application that you have and it say had a SNAP or TANF number on it, and you go directly to DHS or the state agency to find out if they are still receiving those benefits. That's direct verification. It is not direct certification. So direct verification is only done during verification process. It is only done when you have an application that you selected for verification that has a SNAP, TANF, or FITPER number on there, and then you contact the state agency or the tribe and ask if they're still receiving those benefits. They did not show up on your, and they did not show up on your direct certification list. Now, if you have an application that you pulled for verification, and then a week later they show up on your direct certification list, we would consider that direct verification. Is that correct, ladies? Wouldn't you consider that direct verification? If you had an application you pulled and then they later showed up on the direct certification list, then that would be what we would consider a direct verification. So we have a lot of schools that always put this, but they do it because they think they're not reading it, to be honest. It's direct verification, not direct certification. So just to make you aware.
I was just thinking that. I think that if it was picked for verification, that it had been moved.
The question is, Kendra, let's
So,
talk about this.
yeah, so if our only error-prone app family moved, do we still include that number? And I would agree. I would say yes. Did they respond before they moved? It may just be where if they didn't respond, then that'd be just a no response. Or did they call you and they received the letter and say, hey, we've moved? If they called you and said, hey, we moved, okay, then that's a response.
If they moved it before verification, was that application picked for verification before they moved?
Ask her that, if she had started the verification process.
Did you start verification process before they moved, or did they move during, like, did they move after October 1? Or did they move before October 1? Because I think what you could have done is before October 1, you could have picked a different application. But if they did it after you already selected your, if they moved after October 1, and if they did call you and tell you, like, say they received the letter was forwarded to you, they moved before. Okay, perfect. So you chose another one. So that's good. You could have declined that 5%. So you could have declined, and the reason you declined the application is because they moved. So in box 5-6, let me look at that. Oh, you are very correct. Thank you. So if you did not, someone corrected me and I very much appreciate that. Okay, so it says in box 5-6, it says it's selected if you did not do direct verification. So if you did not do direct verification, that's when you select that box. Oh, sorry, right there.
Yeah, was not.
Was not. All we know is everybody always does this wrong.
Right.
So they always think it's direct certification. So again, if you did not do direct, thank you so much for correcting me. I appreciate that. That if you did not do direct verification, then that's when you'll select that box. And I know even you guys, it gets so confusing when you do this once a year and we technically haven't done verification in 2 years. So it just gets so mind-boggling sometimes. So in 5-7, if the school has done direct verification, you fill in 5-7 column A and B. You enter the applications and students, if free or reduced, eligibility is confirmed again through direct verification. So direct verification is using records from the public agency to verify that income, or again, if you pull an application and they had a SNAP, TANF, FIPR on there, and then they later show up on the direct certification list, that is another way of that's direct verification.
Wait a minute. This has to be for the number of applications and the number of students.
Well, if they did not perform direct verification.
Yes, if you did not do direct
and they click
verification,
on
then
the box in 5-6,
you click on the box and you don't do this.
then it grays it out.
And if you have any questions about some of this, again, you can always call our office. And like I said, we're all talking about it again. We have not done this in a couple of years. So it's crazy, which I know you guys get that too. So if you did do direct verification, contact us. And that is, believe that's the number of applications that were directly verified.
It'd still be an application. Never mind.
Yeah, I know.
I'm with you now.
We get confused.
Right, okay.
Thanks for, hearing all of us out there. Okay, section 5-8, we're getting close to the end. Verification must be complete for this part of the report. So first, you have to define what responded and did not respond, what it means. So responded is the household provides sufficient documentation. This includes verbal or written notification that the household, even if they decline benefits, if they contact you, they responded to verification.
This part automatically fills out by what they put in the other.
Under other sections. And then also what a non-response is if the household did not provide, if they just didn't contact you at all. That's no, even if they tell you that, hey, yeah, it makes something different and they're not going to supply you anything, that's a response. So this section right here in 5-8, it does automatically populate from all the other areas, which is good. Hallelujah. And then this is the slide that I added today that is not in the slides from yesterday, is to give you the verification report steps. So, because I had this phone call this morning and that's why I added it. So first, for a verification report to even open up, this is what has to happen. So you first have to do your low income report, submit it to our office, and it has to be approved by our office. Then you have to have your November claim, it must be certified. Then your verification report will open. So then after you complete your verification report, then you will be able to do your December claim. Because I had someone call and they're like, I can't get my report up, what's going on? So these are the steps. So if your report, your verification report summary is not opening, or it won't let you do anything, it's because either your low income report is not approved yet, and then you have to certify your November claim. So you won't even be able to do that until December, because I'm assuming everybody's coming back the week after Thanksgiving. So just FYI, this is how it's supposed to go. So thank you. Thank you. So does anybody have any questions? Did you make it through this okay? I feel like I confused myself more than anything else. We will send out the recording to you. We'll send you out a certificate if you were on the call long enough, but that will be later from Sherry. Tomorrow, if you logged in at all, only for 5 minutes, I'm going to send you the recording. I'm going to send you the summer report along with the instructions. So, and then I'll send you the updated slides as well. So that way you have everything and you can go through that. So hopefully that will make it better. If you were only on for 5 minutes and you're listening to the recording right now, the only way you can get a certificate is if you do this training through OSDE Connect, which will be up tomorrow. So it should be up tomorrow. I just have to get the video back. And if Craig is working, I should be able to get that back this afternoon. So. So we have a couple of questions. We're going to stay on for questions. I hope this helped. Again, I'm going to send this stuff out to you. Just really read the instructions. To be honest, it's going to be the most helpful is having those instructions there when you're filling it out.
Okay, Susan's saying she's still waiting for her claim to be approved so she can do her low income report. We don't approve the claim. As soon as she certifies that October claim, she can do her low income report.
So as soon as you certify your October claim, you can do your low income report. So that must mean that no one certified the claim. So that you may check that out. The last slide, yes, I'll keep the last slide up. And this is, well, I'll send the slides back out so you can see the steps. So again, our office has to approve your low income report. And then the November claim must be certified before your verification summary will even open.
On CEP, is the box on 5-1, the last fill out on the report for CEP schools.
It's actually easier for me to look at the report. Let me look at the, okay.
Jennifer, yes.
Yes. So after you do 5-1, that's the last thing you do. And then everything else will gray out. That is correct. And make sure you certify it.
Okay. Somebody completed the process on the 15th. Had someone respond today? Does that count as a response? No.
No, that is correct. So Lauren, you have completed the process by the 15th and someone had responded today. Does that count as a response? No, because it happened after the process had ended. Now, it doesn't mean that if they did send in all the documentation you need, say they were free and then they went to paid and then they could go back to free again. But if it was after the process is over, you cannot count that as a response. So number 4B is total number of students, not just applications. And I'll look, but I really think in most of the situations, column A is going to be number of applications and B is usually the number of students. So, and it will be different because, you know, you have a family of 5 and they're all on one application. So again, column A is usually always number of applications and column B is actual number of students.
Said they did the low income report on 11/4 and it has a green mark. When will you check it? Ask them if they have mailed it into.
Okay, very good. I forgot about that. So someone did say that they did their low income report and it's still green locked. Did you send into us the signed copy? You have to print that out and sign it and send it to us either in nslp@sde.ok.gov with low income in the title, or you can fax it to us, but we have to have a hard copy of it signed before they can approve it.
She can always email or call me, so I know I'm looking at it.
Becky's the one looking at it, so she said you can also contact her as well. 3-1. So 3-1 is check the box only if all schools in the SFA were not required to perform direct certification. So hardly anybody will select that. We have maybe a handful that are not required to do direct certification. Most schools are required to pull direct certification. So that's 3-1. The one that I was talking about that I got confused on is on 5. Is 5-6 is the one that if you did not do direct certification, which most schools will not do direct verification. So 3-1 is direct certification if you're not required to do it, which most schools are required to do direct certification. And then 5-6 is if you did not do direct verification, which most of you are not going to do direct verification.
Jessica, if she submits the low income report, she can't do the claim for November until the low income report's approved.
Yes, so if your low income report does have a gold lock, then you're good. Once you certify your November claim, so once you hit certify, it will unlock your verification report. It doesn't have to be paid. It just has to be certified.
And remind them there is 2 days in November.
Yes.
After Thanksgiving.
So after Thanksgiving, that's the thing is a lot of you are going to become, if you come to school after Thanksgiving, you're going to have 2 days of November before you can claim. So a lot of you are, it's not going to open up until December. But if you are taking 2 weeks off, then you can go ahead and file your November claim, but you cannot do your November claim until low income report. We send out a blank certificate. So that's how you will get, we saw something about certificates. So if yours is still green locked, just make sure that you sent in the hard copy for your low income report, or yes, someone they did. So you just may want to contact Becky Gray, and you may want, if you want to email her or call her. She said she's handling most of that. So if
Tell Teresa, we don't understand that either, why it's October 1 enrollment and the end of the month is.
yeah, Teresa, again, I just saw that question too. We do not understand why the apps have to be of October 1 and the number of students on October 31st. We don't know. We don't make the rules, and USDA doesn't really like it when we make suggestions about what they need to change. Put it this way, they've never taken our suggestions and changed the rules over that because of our suggestions. So 4-1, let me look at the report. It's just easier for me to look at the report. 4-1. So it is very common, like you said, on 4-1, you could have 6 applications, but the number of students on those applications. So it's very possible that you have 6 applications, but you had a single child, 2 kids in one. So it is going to be a different number, because if you have multiple kids in a household, there'll be multiple kids on the application. So that's why you're usually going to have more students than you have applications.
They don't have to match exactly, but they should be pretty close. Oh, they're not going to match.
They're not going to,
They're
yeah.
not gonna match because we're on SSO. But typically, if we were doing NSLP, that is a correct statement.
What is the question? What was that question?
Just to be sure.
Oh,
T1 and
T2,
should
yes,
match up
for
perfect.
Patricia, I just saw that. So Patricia, on T1 and T2, it usually would match. It would match, but because you're doing SSO, because everybody's for free on SSO, there's no eligibles. But if you're still doing your edit check, just printing your whole edit check out, it would normally match, yes. But in this situation, it's not going to really match what you're claiming.